to another installment of Evo Inspires. Today I'm here with Sean. I'm going to hand it over to him to do an introduction.
Hi there, my name is Sean Radley, and I currently work at IAG as a platform SRE manager.
What is one piece of career advice that you wish you were told when you first started out?
So when I was thinking about this question, I changed it slightly because I was told this advice, but I didn't believe it. So the piece of career advice I wish I believed when I was young was that it's okay to make mistakes. I think it's important to realize that you don't have to do everything perfectly. Even competent and people in high positions make mistakes. They fumble the ball, or they take the eye off the ball, or they make a hash of it sometimes. And as I've grown in my career, I've seen people that I really respect and thought of as almost infallible, and I've seen them make mistakes. Kind of looking back, and I've been reflecting on that in my recent career, and it's I think the idea that you have to do everything perfectly early on or first time around really keeps you from trying out things. It keeps you from putting yourself in a position where you can really grow. And I think if you're the kind of person that's willing to put yourself out there, to really take responsibility, really put yourself in the in the critical path of running a service or whatever the job is that you're going to be accountable for, I think it really breeds a deep sense of trust in a person like that. Even when they make a mistake, you know that they're gonna pick it up and they're gonna fix it and they're gonna be there when times are tough. And so I think it builds trust, and I think it unlocks doors.
What was a pivotal moment in your journey that had a significant impact?
So I had quite a few to choose from, but I think I'll take a recent one, and that is I was listening to a podcast by Dan Pink, one of his Pinkcast 45-second podcast things, which he puts out, and he mentioned a book by a guy called Tiago Forte. It's called Building a Second Brain. And I kind of listened to the guy talk a little bit. It was just a few minutes, but I kind of related to what he was saying. He said he was struggling with kind of all the information overload and trying to keep his world together. And then he had this experience where he had to build up a system, a knowledge management system, a personal knowledge management system, and it turned out that other people benefited from that. And that kind of piqued my interest. So I got the book, $10, $15 on Amazon, and I read it. And man, it changed my life. It changed my career. It changed the way I do my personal stuff, my personal, even preparing for something like this. It's all affected. My whole way of thinking about how I approach life and information in general has changed. Very briefly, he describes in the book a period where he was on medication for some health condition, and where his memory was affected quite badly. And he was in the Ukraine, I think, doing some volunteer work, and he said to his friend, "Hey, why don't I go to Moscow for the weekend and check the place out?" And his friend looked at him, took a beat, and went, "Dude, we were there like last week," and he couldn't remember it. And he had this, oh my goodness, this is insane. And so he had to get off the medicine. And to do that, he had to solve his medical problem, something that doctors couldn't help him to do. And that's what he describes in the book. And he makes it really easy to pull in a lot of data and if not have it overwhelm you. And then when you need it, it's there for use. I don't want to go into the details because we don't have time on this podcast, but man, what a sensational book. I highly recommend it.
As a leader, what key attributes are you looking for when hiring for your roles?
Clearly, when I'm interviewing and considering candidates, technical competency is, of course, important and necessary. But it's not so much the specific, I suppose, competency. Maybe if I have a very niche need, I would be very niche in my candidate search. But generally, when I'm hiring a permanent for a team, I'm looking for evidence that the person that I'm talking to can build skill and has built skill in the past. And if he or she has been at this for 5 years, then I would have a certain expectation of whatever you are good in, that you're 5 years good at that. If you're 1 year good at that, it gives me an indication of what it's going to be like for the next 2-3 years when you're working for me. So being able to build technical competency is very, very important, even if it's not the specific skill, I think the next thing that I really think about is the ability to play and work with others. You need others to succeed. Others need you to succeed. One learns and grows by working together and learning from each other. And as a team, you can achieve much more together, but only if you work together, right? And I think a part of that is what I'll be evaluating is, can you communicate clearly, and do you listen to what I'm asking you? Do you listen to the question, or do you listen to the question behind the question? And these are not generally, I suppose, there's a lot of talk about communication, but I think it's an underdeveloped skill that we can lean into. The last thing I'll mention, if I still have a moment, is I think something that will really stand out for me is the willingness to take responsibility and to push through an uncertain or difficult situation to come to a solution. So in thinking about this, I re-stumbled upon this quote by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's a long quote, but the first part of it goes, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. And it kind of talks to the first part of the podcast, right? Ties back to that. It's like being able to, or being willing to really put yourself out there and risk failure. But then I also know that if you're willing to do that, you'll be willing to recover from that failure. And you and I together will probably be able to figure it out. That's very important.